Hello everyone, welcome to the Old Man and the Read. My name is Jerry. Today I'm going to discuss the books I've read by Max Frisch. Max Frisch was from Switzerland, and he's kind of a unique writer. Extremely wonderful prose, but he writes some really strange and almost bizarre stories at times. But anyway, I really enjoy his books. He's kind of a fun writer to read. So the first book I have from him is An Answer from the Silence. This is one of his earliest books, and it's actually one that he didn't want included in his body of work. But obviously that didn't work because I was able to buy the book and read it. But it's about a young man who, as he's growing up, wants to achieve extraordinary things. He failed in all of his attempts and couldn't achieve anything. And by the time he was approaching 30, he was becoming very depressed and suicidal. And so he decided he would climb one of the peaks in the Alps that had never been climbed before. Now, he had never mountain climbed before in his life, but that was what he was going to do. The story has a little bit of looks like it's going to be a romance developed, but that actually never happened. The next book is I'm Not Stiller, and this is about a man who claims to be an American named Sam White, and he's stopped in Switzerland because he's been identified as a man who had disappeared like 6 years previously, I believe it was, but he claimed he was not Stiller, but he was identified by his wife and acquaintances as being Stiller, but he still claimed he wasn't. The book is written as if it's from a notebook he was keeping, and it appears that probably he was in prison. But anyway, that's the story of I'm Not Stiller. The next book is Homo Faber. And this is about a man who is flying from New York to South America, I guess it was. But the plane develops engine problems and is forced to make an emergency landing. That incident led him to meet a brother of a friend he'd had like 20 years previously, and that led to a little expedition into the jungle, and then later to an ocean voyage. And in the ocean voyage he meets a young woman, and that's where basically the story really begins. The next book is Gatton Ben, and Max Frisch wrote some really strange, almost bizarre books, and this one really bordered on bizarre. But it's about a man sitting in a bar, and another man gets up and walks out and hops into his car, and then that man dies. And so the man sitting in the bar starts imagining a life, or imagining who that person was, and starts developing a life for him and giving him a personality. And he then starts giving an alternate personality, so he's imagining two different people, and he names one of them Enderlin and the other Gatton Ben. But really strange, strange story. Just totally coming up with something in his mind, developing two different people. Next book is Montauk, and this is a autobiography, basically, written in very short snippets about incidences in his life. Most of the events are either troubled marriages or indiscretions he had and affairs he was in. But it's written as if there was a little bit of regret in his life, but he's still rather detached. He refers to himself as he and never seems to really take full responsibility for his actions. Next book is Man in the Holocene, and this is a book I really enjoyed. It's about a 74-year-old man, and I happen to have been 74 when I read the book, so I kind of identified with him. It's just about the ramblings of an old man, his thought process, and how it jumps from one fragments to another, and this man is obsessed with scientific facts, and that's another thing I identified with, and that's I'm kind of fascinated with scientific facts too. He actually cut these facts out and pasted them on his walls. I just read books, and that's what other than literature, I like to read books on science. But really a great book. It's I think Frisch really captured the mentality of us older men. Next book is Bluebeard, and this is about a doctor who's in jail and for murdering one of his ex-wives. And the book is written as if it's memories that he's recalling of testimony in his trial, and I think it kind of reveals, deceptive memories in a way. But interesting book. And the last book I have is The Firebugs, and this is actually a play, but it's about a man who, a successful businessman who is talked into allowing a man to sleep in his attic. He was reluctant to do it, but somehow he got talked into it. And then that man just decided to stay. And eventually that man invited a friend, and so the businessman had two men living in his attic. And during this whole time, there was a series of arsons taking place in his city, and he was getting suspicious, and when the two men were out from the attic, he went up and looked, and he found gasoline being stored in the attic. And so he suspected that these were the arsonists or firebugs. It puts him in a real predicament. He's doesn't know, should he kick them out and offend them, and then maybe they would burn his house down, or does he allow them to stay? Anyway, it's a great little play, very clever, and I enjoyed it. And that's everything I read by Max Frisch. He's, like I say, writes beautiful prose, but he writes some very strange stories, which is kind of a nice combination. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll watch another of my videos.